4. The Antichrist is guilty of blasphemy. On his head's a blasphemous name, and he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. Then he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. The Bible defines blasphemy in 2 ways: claiming the power to forgive sins, and claiming to be God himself. This beast power would be guilty of both forms of blasphemy. Which organization could this be referring to? We will soon find out. 5. The Antichrist rules for 42 prophetic months. He was given authority to continue for 42 months. In Bible prophecy, 1 prophetic day equals 1 literal year. We see this principle in Numbers 14:34 and also Ezekiel 4:6, which says, I have appointed thee each day for a year. So this Antichrist power would rule for 42 prophetic months, which is 1,260 days in the Hebrew calendar, which amounts to 1,260 literal years. Interestingly, this 1,260-year reign for the Antichrist is referenced 7 times in the prophetic books of Daniel and Revelation. 6. The Antichrist receives a deadly wound that is later healed. And I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. The Bible speaks of this beast power receiving a deadly wound which would later be healed. We will shortly reveal how this very thing happened to the Antichrist. 7. The Antichrist receives worship. They worship the beast, saying, who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Clearly, this beast power is different from other nations, as it receives worship. The Antichrist would be some sort of religious, political power. 8. The Antichrist persecutes God's people. It was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. The Antichrist would be guilty of mass bloodshed against God's very own people. In just a moment, we will pull back the curtain on this blasphemous opponent of God and his saints. 9. The Antichrist has a man as its leader, for it is the number of a man. Revelation refers to a man who represents this Antichrist power. Daniel chapter 7 describes the little horn power, which is a parallel prophecy of the Antichrist. And there, in this horn, were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking pompous words. This beast power would have a single man who serves as its representative and leader. We will soon reveal who this is. 10. The Antichrist has the number 666. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 666. Notice that 666 is not the mark of the beast, but it is rather the number of a man. The mysterious number would identify the leader of the Antichrist power. So, who is the Antichrist? Based on these 10 characteristics, some of you may have identified it already. There is only one organization in human history that matches all 10 of these characteristics with perfect accuracy. The Antichrist is none other than the papacy, the Roman Catholic Church-State Union. Shortly, we will see how this institution perfectly fits each of these 10 characteristics. But let us be clear, friends, there are many sincere, loving Christians in the Catholic Church who are doing the best they know. This biblical Antichrist warning is not about the people in the Catholic Church, but it's about a false system which has set itself against God. Once again, God gives us this solemn warning for our blessing and safety. Make sure that you carefully watch each of the following 10 proofs to see how the papacy perfectly matches these biblical descriptions in a way that no other power can. But first, we must realize that this teaching of the Catholic Church-State Union being the Antichrist is nothing new. The majority of Christian churches today started out by believing and teaching this. In fact, the leaders of the Protestant Reformation taught this very truth. Consider the words of Martin Luther, the most well-known of the Reformers and the founder of the Lutheran Church. We here are of the conviction that the papacy is the seat of the true and real Antichrist. John Calvin, another prominent reformer and theologian, agreed with Luther on this issue. Some persons think us too severe and censorious when we call the Roman pontiff Antichrist. I shall briefly show that Paul's words in 2 Thessalonians 2 are not capable of any other interpretation than that which applies them to the papacy.